Today on JD Cars, I'll be showing you what over $14,000 in Jeep mods looks like. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name's Jake. Welcome to the JD Cars Automotive YouTube channel. It is currently mayhem in the garage here, getting the F30 ready for the Keys Auto Show 2021. Been going ham on this thing for the past couple days. It's crunch time. And I'm also about to have to say goodbye to this beast behind me. I'm literally meeting the buyer in 40 minutes downtown at the police station. I realize this is gonna be my last shot to ever share any more footage of this absolute monster of a creation. It's definitely a sad day. I'm really sad to see it go, but glad it's going into good hands. Someone else is gonna enjoy it, and we're gonna keep moving forward, move up to an even better build in the future. But without any further ado, let's get into it. This is our 2014 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Sport. It's lifted on a rough country 4-inch long arm lift kit. For those of you who aren't familiar with a long arm versus a short arm lift kit, a short arm, it uses your stock control arms, which are shorter than these ones I have here. We actually had to cut off the factory control arm mounts and bolt and weld on these new ones. They're closer to the center of the car. The rear ones are closer to the center, the front ones are closer to the center. Your factory control arm would be mounted maybe 5 inches further forward. So what this does is it keeps the suspension geometry as close to factory as possible versus the cheaper route of just throwing taller springs and shocks and big tires on your Jeep, which does get it taller, but that makes a really bouncy ride and you don't have the maximum articulation off-road. So this long arm lift kit, it gives us plenty of articulation. We can send these 37-inch tires all the way up to the fender flares off-road. And it just provides a really smooth, comfortable ride on the road as opposed to a bouncier ride with short arms. So as I just mentioned, we are riding on 37-inch Nitto trail grapplers. These are Trail Grappler MTs to be specific. They're mud tires, so they do have a very aggressive tread here. This is after maybe 5, 6, 7,000 miles of driving on them. They still have a ton of tread left. I've been very happy with these tires. Some mud tires, they make an obnoxious amount of noise on the road. It's like a kind of noise. I don't know if that's a good sound effect, but it doesn't sound very pleasant. These guys, I've been very surprised. It's really not a loud noise at all. Most people don't even notice it until I mention it. But between the low wear, low noise, and very high traction of these tires, I've been super happy with them. Just to give you the exact specs here, we have 37 by 12.5 R18 tires. So that means they're 37 inches tall, 12.5 inches wide, and it's wrapped around an 18-inch rim. This is a fuel hostage gloss black rim, and I've actually taken off the stock like lug hubcap. I didn't really like the look of them. I did put in a black center cap to cover up the end of the axle there. I think it looks a lot better without those faux hubcaps on there. And before we move on completely from the lift kit, I paired up with the 4-inch long arm the Rough Country Vertex shocks. These are 8-way adjustable reservoir shocks. Just turn this little dial right here. Really easy to adjust. Nice satisfying click, and they look great. The shock shaft on these shocks is a lot thicker than the standard shock shaft. We have not bent them at all. They've held up extremely well, and they provide a great ride. So that covers suspension, wheels, and tires. But to handle these massive tires, we had to do a lot more work. The Wrangler Sport comes with 373 gearing in the front and rear differential. So we swapped out our front and rear diff gearing for 488 gearing from Rough Country. This got us 6th gear back on the highway, got us nice torque back. Before re-gearing, it was possible to drive it with the stock gearing, but it was not a great time. You had to do a lot of clutching. 6th gear, forget about it, and it was not really ideal. So we re-geared with 488s. It crawls beautifully in 4 low and drives around nicely around town. So that handled the torque aspect of turning this 100 pounds of rubber on each corner. But to beef up the front axle and prevent our knuckles from bending in and potentially bending an axle tube, we welded on this full truss and gusset kit across the top of the axle. Show you from the back here, it's a little bit easier to see. That huge metal plate on the top of the axle here, that's 3/16 and 1/4 inch steel all welded to the axle, and coming out to each end, there's several brackets on each knuckle. There's two kind of hidden brackets underneath, so massive strength there on the end. We completely fortified this front axle to handle the weight of these tires, and I can confidently say this was 100% necessary, because when we went to put this piece in right here, the knuckle had already began to bend this way. It was bending. We had to trim down this red piece right here just to get it to fit in, because the knuckle was beginning to bend in. So definitely not a good idea to run 37s on a stock Dana 30 axle if you don't plan to beef it up like this. But aside from beefing it up and making it super strong, it looks really cool. Moving back from the diff, we have Rough Country double carbon drive shafts. They're full metal. We also have one in the rear, of course. And to show you what I mean by double carbon, this is a double carbon joint right here. It has two joints, 1 and 2, so it has a ton more flex, and this is also a lot more durable than the stock drive shaft setup. While installing this long arm lift kit from Rough Country, we did have to modify the exhaust. The exhaust gets shifted backwards about 2 or 3 inches. You can see this spacer right here that we added in. That was necessary, along with a new pipe from this catalytic converter back to where the Y pipe connects the two exhaust pipes right here. So that was a job in and of itself. That covers just about everything underneath the Jeep except for this Rough Country dual steering stabilizer up front. We have 2 N3 shocks mounted up to stabilize some of the feedback from these big tires. Makes it a little bit more smooth to drive. Also, we have a Rough Country diff cover installed on the front diff here. While we're down low, the last thing I should talk about here is we installed some Callahan Performance Red brake calipers and Performance drilled and slotted brakes. These suckers do a great job of bringing this beast to a stop. And of course, we got to add another little red accent, which is great. That was kind of the theme with this, just little subtle red accents, which our front bumper has plenty of. As you can see, we have Rough Country forged red D-rings mounted up to our Rough Country stubby front winch bumper. They have 2 similar styles. This is the stubby winch bumper, which allows the winch to be submerged in the bumper there. It looks really clean. They also have a trail bumper that's a little bit taller and a little bit narrower, but I like the look of this one. This is the second bumper we've put on the Jeep. Powder coat on our first bumper deteriorated really quickly. I'm happy to say the powder coat on the Rough Country parts here has been holding up very well. Some features of this Rough Country bumper are the Black Series cube lights right here. These are activated with the fog light switch. We also have a Black Series 20-inch light bar in the top of the bumper and the bull bar there. That's activated with our overhead switch panel, which I'll show you in just a second. We also installed some aux beam LED halo headlights. These are like the 3rd or 4th pair of headlights I've gone through between defective headlights and just trying out new styles. I'm very happy with these ones. They have a nice, cool, bright white halo in normal daytime running mode. And then when you go to use the turn signal, the white halo turns amber. Turn on that added visibility signal, and it looks pretty cool. Aside from that, they have a new projector design for low and high beam, and they're by far the brightest headlights I've tried out on the Jeep. While we're talking about lights up here, I did install some new smoked running lights in the fender flares. And before we completely move on from the front bumper, we have a Rough Country Pro Series winch. This sucker does a great job. I'm happy to say I've never actually had to use it. This thing really hasn't gotten stuck, but it is a nice winch. It has this synthetic rope in there to keep us safe. Easy to use manual release lever right there. And that wraps up the front end here. Moving to the side, we have EAG stubby fender flares, and EAG is the company we got the front and rear bumper from originally. You can see I've refinished these ones because the powder coat on those and the rock sliders deteriorated. It went to crap really quickly, and I do not recommend EAG accessories for that reason. But we stripped these down, paid $400, had them sandblasted. That was a real hit to the bank, and then I refinished them myself with color matched paint. And after a few days of sitting in the sun, I can't really tell the difference between the paint colors. It looks phenomenal. We did a custom color match finish on the fender flares. We bed lined the inside with Rhino liner, because what's the point of making it all pretty if it's just gonna get debris thrown up at it? So these things are sweet. I like the look of them a lot. And to go with it, we did EAG aluminum inner fenders. I would recommend picking these up because they haven't really given me any issues and it's a pretty good design. We did have to cut out the inner fender here to accommodate our new reservoir shocks. Not a big deal. Moving back from here, while we're on the topic of EAG, we have EAG tubular rock sliders. These were originally all black. The powder coat failed. We had them sandblasted and refinished them in black and gray Raptor liner. Nice little gray accent to complement the gray Jeep. You can see I brought the Raptor liner down on the Jeep here, kind of to blend things in and just protect that area of paint. Moving up from here, we have a little American flag decal. Like these a lot. Nice little subtle touch. We have Rugged Ridge mirror relocation brackets. That's what this little circle is here. This comes in the kit. You pull off your stock mirror, put this cap on, which has a rubber seal, and the mirror becomes relocated to the body. So when you pull off the doors, you don't have to worry about mirrors. They're still on there. You're fully legal to go. And we managed to get the Rough Country light bar bracket in here as well in the same mounting hole. Needed to get extended hardware for that, but again, not a big deal. These brackets hold up our 50-inch single row Black Series light bar, also from Rough Country. This has daytime running lights and a bright ass trail light. Been a great light bar and hasn't gotten any moisture in it over the past 2 years. So pretty impressed with that. Of course, we have the little red door accents here, the red grab handles up top. Moving into the interior, I haven't done a whole lot in here. It does have the Alpine sound package, so the speakers were good enough for me. But when our aux broke, I decided it was time to put some Elon Musk type technology in here. Not really, this was just a cheap Amazon touchscreen kit, but this is a 10-inch Android touchscreen with Apple CarPlay. We ran a little Apple CarPlay dongle down, pops out right here. It's this little box, you can see it. We have our Apple cable for the CarPlay. Huge screen, awesome touchscreen. Highly recommend grabbing one of these. It's like 270 bucks. I'll have a full video out soon if I don't already. This is a 6-speed manual, which I'm gonna miss a lot. This is our last manual vehicle. I'm gonna miss you. Of course, we have the WeatherTech mats in here as well. The rear seats are down because I have the soft top and ceiling hoist for the hard top for the next buyer who is about to pick this up. We also have the red grab handles back here. Same EAG stubby fender flares in the back and aluminum inner fenders as well. We have a Rough Country heavy duty rock crawler rear bumper with the spare tire carrier, and I had more than powder coat issues with the EAG rear bumper that I originally had. Because of how it was designed, the rear tire was tilted like that much backwards and it looked terrible. It also did damage to the passenger rear corner right here, where you can see I refinished it a little bit. It actually hit the rear corner because of how far it was tilting back. Aside from that, the handle was really difficult and painful to use, whereas this Rough Country one, like, I could probably do it with one finger. Yeah, literally one finger. Super easy, great bearings in here, and an awesome bumper overall. My only complaint would be that I had to cut out this little notch for our tow hitch. It did not accommodate the factory tow hitch, and I wanted to keep the wiring nice and neat up here, whereas the Rough Country tow hitch bracket does not do that. So not a huge deal. I just cut that out and sprayed a little bit of textured black spray paint around the edge. Looks completely fine to me. We did install a backup camera to link up to that 10-inch touchscreen, and we also installed some new VIP Motos sequential taillights. These go out like this, like the Mustang. They have a really bright reverse light right here. Haven't had any issues with those over the past 2 years. Oh, and before I forget, one more thing in the interior. This is our Voswitch JK100 overhead switch panel. It has 8 switches. We're only occupying 4 right now. One for our daytime running light on that light bar, one for the trail lights on that light bar, one for our rock lights, and one for our bumper light. So that actually reminds me to check out 2 other things. We did some custom mounted LED rock lights. These are Super RE Amazon rock lights. We made some aluminum brackets, front and rear. Those suckers have been great, haven't crapped out over the past year or so. And the Voss switch system, I always love talking about the Voss switch. This is such a great design and at a great price point compared to some of the switch pod options out there. There are a lot more expensive options out there for running accessories on your Jeep. Basically, every time you buy a light bar, get a light bar on your bumper, get rock lights, anything really, a winch, a compressor, any 12-volt accessory, you have to run wires from that accessory through your firewall into the cabin of the Jeep. And then you have to find somewhere to put the switch for it without it looking ugly. So as you guys saw, that switch panel is very small, it tucks up out of the way, doesn't look bad at all. Looks great. So that takes care of the mounting of your switches, and you only have to run one wire one time ever and you're done. You have 8 switches to work with, because this Voss switch box here, which is completely waterproof by the way, has 8 independent relays and fuses for 8 accessories. So running through our waterproof seal right here, we have our 4 accessories hooked up as of now. There are 4 more slots open for 4 additional accessories, and I just love this setup. It's got waterproof seals everywhere, super easy to use. Have that on backwards. And you can actually program on that little unit several different flashing modes on any accessory. So we can make this huge light bar, like do a police strobe or a flash or anything. So I definitely recommend the Voss switch system. Aside from that, we haven't done really anything under the hood here. We've kept the V6, the 3.6 liter Pentastar, completely bone stock, just for the sake of reliability. But I would like to supercharge or turbocharge one of these things in the future. Another little quick detail I forgot to mention, we did some black smoked out turn signal lights on the front just to clean it up a little bit more. We did some Rugged Ridge red poly bump stops to replace the factory bump stops. Our Rough Country lift kit came with quick sway bar disconnect. So you just pull this little pin down here, swing the bar up, and it stows away right on this little bracket that they include. So that's really helpful for disconnecting your sway bar on the go. A lot of Rubicon guys actually say that they install these despite having the electric switch in their cabin, because A, the electric switch can fail and then you're stuck with no ability to disconnect your sway bar out in the field, and you're stuck with like a $1,500 bill to get it replaced. So I like the simple system. It only takes a minute to pop it off, and it works really well. But aside from that, I'm probably forgetting something here or there. That should cover most things. Aside from that, this is not an actual upgrade, so this doesn't really get factored into the price, but we did strip the whole Jeep down, the entire drivetrain, all the suspension, stripped it down to the frame, and we wire wheeled the entire frame, painted it, and undercoated it, so it's nice and protected now. It's quite clean under here. But yeah, that is our 2014 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Sport. This is Gunner, the gray Jeep. Gunner has been a phenomenal Jeep. I'm really sad to see him go, and I hope the next owner, Nick and Donovan, enjoy this sucker a lot. I don't know if you guys will ever see this video, but I hope you guys are enjoying it. I hope you're getting out there. They plan to use it as an overland rig. They're going to put a tent on top and all their gear down below. I'm going to miss this thing. Alright, well, hopefully I'm not rambling on too much. I hope you guys enjoyed this video covering over $14,000 in Jeep upgrades and modifications. This has been one hell of a build. I'd like to pay a huge thank you to Rough Country for sponsoring this build, Sam, Andrew, and anyone else who has come over to lend me a hand in building this beast, along with my dad for occasionally lending me a hand when he can. I believe I just got a text from Nick, so I'm gonna have to head downtown, hand him over the keys, and say goodbye to this thing. But I will have more off-road content coming in the near future. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go leave a like down below. Leave any comments or questions down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on JD Cars.